Hello everyone and welcome to Ring Diaries here at Church of Uganda Family TV with me Fiona Mboa, where we talk about everything and anything to do with marriage. And I keep telling us we bring you real people to share their real experiences so that our marriages can be better. And there's no expert in marriage. We're just sharing experiences and figuring things out. So being here doesn't make us experts. We're just sharing what we can about our marriages so that your marriage out there does not go through the same things we have gone through. A few weeks ago, we talked about, we had a couple, and as we were sharing, we talked about being marriageable. Now, being marriageable is something that shocked me. I didn't know it was something until I realized that some of us need to be marriageable, or some of us have not gotten married because we are not marriageable, and some are too marriageable. I don't know. We're yet to find out in this show. And with me this evening is Priska Sserunkuuma.
Yeah.
Priska Sserunkuuma has been married for 2 years, come December.
Yes.
And next to Priska, we have Olive Mugulusi, who's been married for 10 years. Now, Olive and Priska are just going to help us discuss about positioning yourself. How do you position yourself? Because for me, from hearing marriageable, I was like, okay, me, I thought after school, next thing is marriage. Yes, that's what it should be like. But now there came in a topic of marriageable. So is there something about is there something even about positioning ourselves for marriage, or I just sit there and wait and the person is going to come? Say welcome to our show.
Thank you, Fiona.
And just to start us with this conversation, I'll start with Olive. How did you get married? Was it after school, the next thing you get married, or did you get married when you're still in school? How was it for you?
Yeah. Thank you, Fiona. Hi, viewers, and thank you for having me here. Yeah. How did I get married?
Mm-hmm.
I of course I didn't get married in school. It was after school. I went to school. I finished at campus. I finished. After I finished, and I looked for jobs, and I wasn't so lucky to get a job early. So it hit me that I think as I wait for a job, I need to get out of my mother's house.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really started to think about marriage, and I knew I was ready for marriage.
What made you think that you were ready for marriage?
Growing up, marriage is something I really desired.
Okay.
When I was growing up. Maybe to tell you a little bit of my background, I was raised by a single mother. I had never been in a complete family setting. But even when I was young, I remember I used to have friends, right from primary, by the way. I used to have friends, I would visit at their home, and I would find daddy, mommy, children. And when I go home, it is only mommy and us. So I would ask my mother a lot of questions. But then she would be like, Olive, the questions you're asking, I'm praying you grow up and one by one you'll answer them yourself. So I used to give my mother a time, but it's a desire I had from childhood. I looked at it and it was beautiful. I didn't know why I found it so beautiful to have a home where there's a mother and a father and the children and maybe other family members. So it was a desire that kept growing with me. But along the way as I grew, sometimes you can be carried away by what's going on, your school, your friends, and everyone is not talking about marriage. It's not even time for marriage. It's books, it's what. So after campus, I came back. It wasn't easy for me to get a job quickly. And one time I was there like, I think after campus, someone needs to think about getting married. So that's when I started to be serious. And after camp, I remember I'd gotten saved in senior one.
Okay.
But when I just got saved, and I didn't have the opportunity of being. No one showed me how a saved person should. Yeah? I remember I would go to church every when I wanted. You can even spend 2 months without church. And then, it's long since I last went to church. Let me go to church. Yeah, so I started that, that seed of God was growing in me as I was growing. So by the time I left campus, I had recommitted my life to Christ, and I was like, I'm leaving campus. I know I'm going to the world. It's not going to be an easy place for me. I remember I had a roommate, my friend, and I remember when we were leaving the hostel, I sat her down and I told her, Miriam, you know what, we need to pray. We are done with school. We are going into the world, but we need God. We need to be serious with God. There are certain things there's a way of life we've been living, and God is at the back of it all. I think it's right now we need to put God at the forefront. So we held hands with my friend Miriam, and we prayed, said, God help us. Miriam had a beautiful voice. I said, Miriam, join church, join the choir. And me, I didn't have a voice, and I knew I didn't have a part in the choir, but I said, yeah, I'll go to church. I'll go to church and find what to do. There are so many things to do at church. Yeah, you can do ushering, you can do what. So after that, I became a church girl. I became a church girl. But I came with a desire that had grown in me
of marriage,
of getting married. Yeah. So when I reached church, you find all sorts of people in church. Yeah. Yeah. So, and when you of course, when they see you, you're no longer school going age. Of course, people will be. Yeah, the opposite sex will be attracted to you and all that. So maybe that answers you, Fiona.
Yes, thank you very much, Olive. And for Priska, was it also straightforward that after school I need to get married? How was it for you?
It wasn't that straightforward. She talked about being raised by a single mother. My name is Assasira Priska Sserunkuuma. I was also raised in a household with just one parent. So I think what I took from my parents was more of being a workaholic. Do your best and provide. And that was the attitude. So there were no questions. There were no questions, where is daddy or where is who? No, there were no questions. It was...
I need to work to provide.
Yes. If what you don't see, don't ask. He's not there, he's not there. No questions. Yes, he's not there. So it was go to school, come home, do your chores. That is it. Be a child. Listen, do your best. Go to school, bring back a good report card. That was it. So when I finished school, I went back home. When I finished my bachelor's degree, I went back home because I didn't have a job. So the best place for me to go was home. And then I started looking for a job. Like she said, the job market is not that easy to penetrate. But I was lucky. In a short time, I got a job. Small money, but it was worth it. You're a startup. You're starting your life in your career. So I started working. It was a bit far from home, but still. My mother advised me to commute. So I commuted most of the time until I went out. I started renting a place for myself.
So in all this, Priska, where is marriage?
Marriage was not really on the priority. I can't say I didn't think about it, but it wasn't a priority.
It wasn't.
But of course, people were asking.
You're out of school. What is happening?
People were asking. Suitors were making themselves available, but it takes us back to the topic, positioning, then being marriageable, and at that part, yes, I was dating, but it wasn't. Your mind is, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, well and good. I am still focused on making the money now. Let me first make my career better. I think that's where my priority was until, like, should I say 3 years later, because that was 2018 when I was working. Then eventually I waited December 2021.
So in all these stories, okay, yes, we get to marriage and we get married. But then the people like us, people like you, same age and they're still not married. Do you think it has anything with positioning yourself?
Yes, because positioning yourself comes with a lot of things.
Like what? I am ready.
No, most of us are not ready. Most of our friends are not ready. It is a bitter truth to tell people. We may not even tell them they are not ready, but they are not ready. Because when, for example, I'll look back at our premarital counseling classes. There are questions they ask you and you're very sure. I think that premarital counseling is done where it's done when it's too late.
That's true.
Because the date is already set.
Yes.
I can't say give me some time, I think about it. No. I don't have time to think about it.
The date is set.
Someone is asking you if your partner did A, B, C, and D. What would you do? Would you stand there? Would you take it? And in your mind, you're like, wait, is that supposed to? Because this man said he loves me so much. I'm not certain if he's capable of doing this. But even the people, people who have been 15 years in marriage or 20 years in marriage will tell you they are capable of anything. Exactly. And then you're wondering, where does the love go? So here, some people are not ready. Even when we advocate for marriage, people should get married. But I don't know if there is a school where people can go and examine themselves, whether they are ready or not ready. Yes.
So we should start a premarital school.
Yes, before even people start dating. So that you know that this attitude will not work. Because there is an attitude that will not work in marriage.
Interesting.
There is a kind of submissiveness that will not work in marriage. Marriage is not tit for tat is a fair game. Marriage is not an eye for an eye. It's discipline that you have to grow over time. And some people are not ready to do that.
So there are people who are not marriageable.
Yes, there are people who, and they are not willing to make the sacrifice. Because it's, for example, I usually when I'm talking to my husband and we are discussing things like this, I tell him marriage, I wish people would treat marriage like a business partnership. Respectful enough for you to make money. So respectful enough for us to make it work.
Okay. Holly,
Yes.
how do we position ourselves? Because I know there are some of our viewers there, they didn't know they're not marriageable. So how do they position themselves for marriage?
Yeah, how do we position ourselves for marriage? It's a coincidence that both of us, me and Priska, grew up in a setting where this was not,
There's no example.
there was no example. But I think marriage being God's idea, He designed it in a way that we should look at our parents and see what goes in there, what goes on there between them, and then we shall,
we copy
we fall in their footsteps. But there are people like Naomi and Priska, so who have no example. Yeah, seriously, me, I never was lucky. I never grew up in any. Well, I started with my grandmother. and it was a whole, what do they call this family?
Extended
Extended, as you know, those village families, very many people, uncles and all that. But then around P4, that's when I came and joined my mother, and up to the time Mr. Mugulusi came for me, I stayed there with her. So I didn't have an example to look at. I would ask her questions and she didn't have any answers to give me. But as I told you, I desired
She
it.
probably knows you will not understand.
You won't
Yes,
even
yes,
understand.
because actually I started asking questions when I was young. So now, how do you position yourself? I had to come to a knowledge that this thing called marriage is God ordained. So since I had no one to look to, I'd never been in a relative's home who is married or what, married the God's way. So I had to look back to the author of marriage. That is when I woke up and I was like, now I know, since I feel after school, I need to go to the next step. As I wait for the job, as I wait for the capital to start something for myself, I don't need to burden my mother anymore. You get it? So I got that inspiration to look to God. That was when I said, now let me focus on God. Who designed this thing called marriage? And I know I'll get it from Him. Yeah, because marriage is from God. And so I had to really see now. I had to focus on myself, and I'm like, now, Olive, sincerely, there are certain things the way you've been doing things that I don't think qualify to go with into a marriage. So I had to reflect.
So
I had to do what? I had to focus on how to develop myself and to make myself suitable for this what?
To whoever comes.
To this new thing I wanted. I so desired to join in the marriage.
So how did you do that?
So that was when I realized marriage comes from God, and no one is going to give me this marriage. My mother will not give it to me, however much she loved me. My friends cannot give it to me. I started to focus on my relationship with God.
So when you focus on God, the author of marriage.
The author of marriage.
Brings
And
the marriage.
that is when my eyes were open to see that, sincerely, you may think you're ready for marriage, but deep down, the reality of the matter is you're not. You need a complete makeover. You know,
To ready you.
God needs to prepare you. Yeah, so it starts with an awareness of yourself, how you're standing with God. You want a godly marriage? How is your relationship with God? You get it? How are you? God requires that we pursue a relationship that is pure with Him. God is a spirit, and marriage is spiritual. And if you're going to venture into marriage, you need to be spiritually aligned. So I said, now, marriage God's way. I hear about things like you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. How does one do that? A fully grown girl. But then around me there are people who actually there are people around me who are close to me who had made it into marriage without defying themselves. I'll use that word. And they made it. So I said, so this thing is possible.
It's doable.
It is doable with the help of God. I had to go to them and ask, how did you do this thing? How did you guys manage? And they had to sit me down and tell me things. And I had to really, I think if this one did it, I can also do it.
Yes.
Now that is part of preparation. How do you prepare? You want to do something God's way, but you're not ready to do it God's way. You know, you want
Put in the work.
you want to do marriage God's way. You want to enter into marriage that is godly, but you're not ready.
Do the work.
Yeah, I said God is a spirit, and you know, you cannot express love to a spirit except there's a sacrifice involved. So I said these things are sacrificial. Now, if you're going to appease the spirit called God, and you know, convince him that I'm really ready for this thing, you need to do some sacrifices. You need to do away with there are things you'll be doing. You caught up in relationships, entanglements that are not clear, you know, and you have to. Now all this is you're positioning yourself.
You're letting go of all the
Yeah,
things
you're
that
like,
would hold
God,
you
I'm
back.
serious. I know and I'm convinced, without focusing on you, the author of this thing that I so desire. There is no way I'm going to do what? I'm going to get into it.
Thank you very much, Olive. But Priska, on the point that she has said of getting rid of all the things that are holding you back, a girl would say, but what if one of them is mine?
Yeah, might be.
Yes.
It's possible. Because I believe the way God thinks is sometimes not the way we think. I believe even the people who are spiritually rooted, the people that guide us, our priests, reverends, have a special way that God really ministers to them to communicate the things they communicate to us.
Yes.
What we define as terrible, unbecoming,
Could be.
could be what God has put in store for you. That's what you
So
can
how
manage.
do I?
So I think, one, listen. I don't know where in the Bible it says God speaks to us in silence, but I know it's there. I'm unable to quote the verse. But when you listen and take time, like she said, when you close off all the noise and try to listen to God, He speaks to you. It could be through a friend, it could be through, but there is a way God communicates to us individually. In the silence of our hearts, in our experiences, there's a way He communicates to us. So while we are putting away things,
As we put away
all the noises, may we try as much as possible to pray for wisdom so that we see what we really need and what we do not need. Because while we pray, there are people who are doing overnights. There are people who are doing pilgrimages.
That's what I'm
There are
thinking.
people who are, but
And they're still unmarried.
while you're doing
Priska.
the pilgrimages, how is your language? While you're doing your pilgrimages, which kind of person do you want and who do you need? There are two words. What
Want
you
and
need
need.
and what you want are
Why
two
can't the
different
two
things.
align?
They may not align for everyone.
Because honestly, we've seen these girls in church. Yes, I know it is important to align ourselves with God. But you've seen girls who have done all those
Exactly.
things, but they're failing to get married.
That's why I'm saying, while someone is doing the pilgrimages, someone is doing the overnights, you're singing in the choir,
You're going for all the singles
can
conferences.
we look at our inner selves and see how prepared our habits are? Your language, how you receive people, how you speak to them, what your demands are. Sometimes, even when you're praying on this side, on this other side, you're just cleaning off the prayers with just your behavior. Because the soul, where the soul is, the body is as well.
Okay. So meaning we shouldn't just concentrate on the
Don't
church.
concentrate on me. My relationship with God is perfect, but your relationship with human beings is not perfect at all. These are God's too. Because God lives in them.
And you're not going to marry God.
You're going to marry a man.
Like you.
A man has fault. God does not have fault.
Yes.
So when we concentrate on God.
Yes, when you concentrate on God and you're looking for perfection, it's not going to work. God, I want a handsome man, I want a rich man, I want tall. It can't all come. Are you tall, dark, and handsome? We are not. I am short. I may be pretty, but I am short. I have a temper. I may overreact about things. I probably don't make the most money. Probably my husband would have loved a woman who makes more money. Do I know that? I don't. So while we are looking for perfection, because I have had people speak, they have a list of things they tick off. And you
must
cannot,
be clean.
Unless you're creating your own man, you cannot tick.
Should go to the lab one of these days.
See? So positioning, we have to look into our inner selves and see, if I am not perfect, how can I prepare myself for another imperfect person? I'm not saying pick them from the gutters. I'm not saying go to the deepest of dirt and pick a human being. I'm saying you recognize your imperfection, and while you're picking a partner, or while you're considering, because the candidates are there. The candidates are there, but while you're picking a partner from these people, keep in mind that there is something that is called imperfection with every human being. And what do you need? Because it's not everyone is looking for a rich man. Some people are looking to be loved. That's all they need.
Love is better when you're rich.
See? Yes, the money will complement.
Answers things. Yes.
Money solves so many things, and so does it bring very many troubles. So priority is, what are you looking for? Then we look at the other things that could accompany this one thing that you're really, really looking for. What am I looking for in a marriage? I want to be loved. I don't want to be taken for granted. Can someone value me? But while I get this good, how much troubles am I bringing as well? Because the truth is, every good person comes with
a bit of baggage.
Yes, definitely. Everyone comes with a bit of baggage. There is history to them, or there is a character to them. If God made us all the same, I think we would rather be alone.
It'd be so boring.
Very boring, exactly. So
I'm amazed that the fact that we need to consider that we're imperfect. So stop looking for perfection.
Yes.
Just settle with the imperfect person you find and be imperfect together. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation of positioning ourselves for marriage. And as Priska has said, we're not perfect. So why are you looking for perfection? Because you won't find it. Don't go away. I'm Fiona Mbowa here at Church of Uganda Family TV with Ring Diaries.